The Siege of Güns or Siege of Kőszeg, Turkish, Güns Kuşatması, was a siege of Kőszeg, German, Güns, in the Kingdom of Hungary within Habsburg Monarchy, that took place in 1532. In the siege, the defending forces of the Austrian Habsburg Monarchy under the leadership of Croatian Captain Nikola Jurišić, Hungarian, Miklós Jurisics, defended the small border fort of Kőszeg with only 700 to 800 Croatian soldiers, with no cannons and few guns. The defenders prevented the advance of the Ottoman army of 120,000 to 200,000 toward Vienna, under the leadership of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, Ottoman Turkish, Süleymān, and Pargalı Ibrahim Pasha. The exact outcome is unknown, since it has two versions which differ depending on the source. In the first version, Nikola Jurišić rejected the offer to surrender on favorable terms, and in the second version, the city was offered terms for a nominal surrender. Süleymān, having been delayed nearly 4 weeks, withdrew at the arrival of the August rains, and did not continue towards Vienna as he'd intended, but turned homeward. Süleymān secured his possession in Hungary by conquering several other forts, but after the Ottoman withdrawal, Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand I reoccupied some of the devastated territory. Following this, Süleymān and Ferdinand concluded a 1533 treaty in Constantinople that confirmed the right of John Zapolyā as a king of all Hungary, but recognized Ferdinand's possession of some of the reoccupied territory. On the 29th of August 1526, at the Battle of Mohacs, the Christian forces led by King Louis II were defeated by Ottoman forces led by Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. Louis was killed in the battle, which resulted in the end of the independent Kingdom of Hungary as he died without an heir. Both the kingdoms of Hungary and Croatia became disputed territories with claims from both the Habsburg and Ottoman empires. Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand I, who was a brother of Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, married the sister of Louis II and was elected king by the nobles of both Hungary and Croatia. The throne of Hungary became the subject of a dynastic dispute between Ferdinand and John Zapolyā from Transylvania, since Süleymān had promised to make Zapolyā the ruler of all Hungary. During Hungarian campaign of 1527 to 1528, Ferdinand captured Buda from John Zapolyā in 1527. Only to relinquish his hold on it in 1529 when an Ottoman counterattack stripped Ferdinand of all his territorial gains during 1527 and 1528. The Siege of Vienna in 1529 was the first attempt by Süleymān the Magnificent to capture the Austrian capital. This siege signaled the pinnacle of Ottoman power and the maximum extent of Ottoman expansion in Central Europe. Little War in Hungary. Following Süleymán's unsuccessful siege of Vienna in 1529, Ferdinand launched a counterattack in 1530 to regain the initiative and avenge the destruction brought by Süleymán's 120,000-strong army. This campaign is usually considered as the start of the Little War, the period of a series conflicts between the Habsburgs and the Ottoman Empire. An assault of Buda was driven off by John Zapolyā, the vassal king of Hungary, but Ferdinand was successful elsewhere, capturing Gran, Esztergom, and other forts along the Danube River, a vital strategic frontier. During the early period of the Little War in Hungary, Süleymān, as a response to Ferdinand's counterattack in 1530, and as a part of his Fifth Imperial Campaign, Ottoman Turkish, Seferi Humayun, in 1532, led a massive army of over 120,000 troops to besiege Vienna again. Due to Süleymán's rapid advances, Ferdinand feared the Christian forces would not be assembled in time to meet him. On 12 July, Süleymān wrote to Ferdinand from Osijek, German, Kőszeg, in Slavonia, to assure him of the Ottoman advance. According to the letter, Süleymán's fifth campaign was primarily directed against Charles V, and not personally against Ferdinand. After Süleymān crossed the river Drava at Osijek, instead of taking the usual route for Vienna, he turned westwards into Ferdinand's held Hungarian territory. According to historian Andrew Wheatcroft, on the route for Vienna, the Ottoman army had briefly invested and captured 17 fortified towns or castles. Ferdinand withdrew his army, leaving only 700 men with no cannons and a few guns to defend Kőszeg. Located south of Sopron, the small town of Kőszeg was only a few miles from the Austrian border. It was held by a task force commanded by the Croatian soldier and diplomat Nikola Jurišić. Kőszeg was not considered a place of importance. It was an insubstantial obstacle and many stronger places had yielded without a fight. The Grand Vizier of the Ottomans, Ibrahim Pasha, did not realize how poorly defended Kőszeg was. After taking a few minor places, Süleymān came to join Ibrahim Pasha shortly afterwards. When the siege had already started, the Ottomans met stiff resistance at Kőszeg. Süleymān had hoped that the imperial army would come to relieve Kőszeg, affording him an opportunity for a larger engagement. However, during the Ottoman attacks on Kőszeg, the imperial army still formed up in Regensburg. The Ottomans continued with one attack after another. Artillery fire brought down parts of the walls, but brought no surrender. The Ottomans' mines were sapped by countermines. The layout of Kőszeg's walls made mining a feasible strategy, but even though several mines succeeded in blowing holes in the fortifications, the defenders held out for more than 25 days, without any artillery. Captain Nikola Jurišić and his garrison of 800 Hungarians held out against 19 full-scale assaults and an incessant bombardment by the Ottomans. The outcome has two versions. In the first version, Nikola Jurišić rejected the offer to surrender on favorable terms, and the Ottomans retreated. In the second version, the city was offered terms for a nominal surrender. The only Ottomans who would be allowed to enter the castle would be a token force who would raise the Ottoman flag. In either case, Süleymān withdrew at the arrival of the August rains, and returned homeward instead of continuing towards Vienna as previously planned. He had been delayed nearly 4 weeks, and during this time a powerful army had been collected in Vienna, which Süleymān had not the intention to face. According to historian Paolo Giovio, Charles arrived with an imperial army at Vienna on 23 September, too late for fighting the Ottomans since Süleymān already withdrew. By their defense of Kőszeg, Nikola Jurišić and his men had saved Vienna from a siege. Although he was stopped at Kőszeg and failed to conquer Vienna, Süleymān additionally secured his possession in Hungary by conquering several forts, since Ferdinand and Charles evaded an open field battle. Immediately after the Ottoman withdrawal, Ferdinand reoccupied devastated territory in Austria and Hungary. Nevertheless, Süleymān concluded a peace treaty with Ferdinand in 1533, in Constantinople. The treaty confirmed the right of John Zapolia as a king of all Hungary, but recognized Ferdinand's possession of that part of the country that enjoyed the status quo. This treaty did not satisfy Zapolia or Ferdinand, whose armies began to skirmish along the borders. After Zapolia's death in 1540, Süleymān annexed Hungary to the Ottoman realm. Although from 1529 to 1566 the borders of the Ottoman Empire moved further west, none of the campaigns after 1529 achieved the decisive victory that would secure new Ottoman possessions.